Hi, I'm Glenn Simpson. I have collected comics for over 40 years, and so I'm sharing my collection with you one box at a time. Today we're looking at box number 9. It's a bunch of later issues in Amazing Spider-Man Volume 1 and a chunk of Amazing Spider-Man Volume 2. It's Memorial Day weekend. I got my Wonder Woman shirt on, which is entirely inappropriate for Spider-Man, but we're going to do it anyway. So let's go. All right, we're starting up where we left off with Amazing Spider-Man. We're now at 407. We've got Spider-Man fighting. We're sort of out of that Scarlet Spider period. I believe now we've got Ben Reilly, the blonde barista, working and is the current Spider-Man. This was their attempt to kind of start over, get away from all of the baggage of the Peter Parker realm. And so we've got kind of a Spider-Man that he knows who everybody is generally, but he's otherwise kind of fresh because he has been away. He thought he was the clone of Spider-Man. Turns out he is the real Spider-Man, although later we'll find out, of course, he isn't the real Spider-Man. He is, in fact, the clone Spider-Man, but that's how that rolled. 407. Then we jump to 409. We've got, I always thought it was funny, her name was Joystick, which was a bit of a late reference in given the time period, we got Spider-Man with Kane, who's another not so good clone, going up against all of these major Spidey villains. There's less in this box. This might be, man, it takes so long. Then we've got 410 with Carnage. And that reminds me, I need to get another book out of the other box. There we go. I'm ready now. 410. We've got the Carnage symbiote jumping on to Ben Reilly Spider-Man and Web of Carnage Part 2. Good stuff, pretty stuff. That goes into 411, Blood Brothers crossover. There were just all these like 3 or 4 issue crossovers between the different Spider-Man titles during this time. All of it sort of dealing with the Spider Clone saga. It all went on way longer than anybody wanted it to. So this was Peter still being around, regular Peter still being around. Then we jump to 415, Onslaught. So now we're getting into the Heroes Reborn period when not Spider-Man, but a lot of the other titles, Amazing Avengers, Fantastic Four, they weren't selling so hot, so Marvel was giving them over to Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld's group to see what they could do. So they were starting them all over at number 1. So Onslaught was a storyline started in the X-Men that was going to lead to all of those characters being thought to be dead in the regular universe so they could be reborn in the other universe. And so this was where that's starting, and so we've got some Sentinel action that Spider-Man is dealing with, since that is an X-Men storyline. And here we go. Here's Amazing Spider-Man number 416. And Spider-Man, yes, he thinks they're all dead, and so he's having a moment to think about his former superhero pals and how much he'll miss them and all that good stuff. Then we jump to 420. Peter Parker is, I believe, is back as Spider-Man somewhere along this time. It looks like Peter. And he is a buddy with X-Man, who is the sort of refugee from the Age of Apocalypse timeline. He is a genetically engineered child of Cyclops and Jean Grey from over there. So he's a kind of a version of Cable, who, you know, was raised differently. So he has come to the regular universe, and he and Rick and Peter Parker had an actual like friendship there for a while. We haven't seen that in a while. We don't have enough pages anymore for people to have actual relationships. We have Amazing 421, the Dragonfly, I believe was a newish character being introduced there, but it was mostly Spider-Man going up against ninjas. Then we go to Amazing Spider-Man 424, Spider-Man meeting again. I don't know if they've met before, but dealing with Elektra there. And I don't know if we weren't supposed to know that, but obviously we do. And then we go to Amazing 425. This is probably a really cool wraparound cover that, because I have it all packaged up, we can't really appreciate, but hey, here's part of it. We've got X-Man teaming up once again. They're fighting Electro in here, and starting the new guide to the Marvel Universe. I believe that is when they started these little fold-out versions of the front cover with some extra information on there, sort of a prelude to the recap pages we have now. We jump to Amazing 429, Spider-Man versus the Absorbing Man once again. Dealing with him. He is of course the Thor villain who changes into whatever material he touches, and his magical wrecking ball does the same. And then we've got a special issue. We've got 430. Got Spider-Man and the Silver Surfer dealing with Carnage here, and this is a very popular issue. Lots of good people like the imagery there, and that leads into something from the top loader bin, which is Amazing 431, where the Carnage symbiote has taken over the Silver Surfer, and that's never a good thing. So that's what they got to deal with there. We got Tom Lyle art. That's the name I was trying to remember. He had done a lot of work on the new Robin, the Tim Drake Robin over at DC, and then had come over and was doing some covers and stuff for Marvel. Let's see, got a very much not Tom Lyle cover. We got JR Jr. on 432. Spider Hunt. We're beginning a storyline there with Tom DeFalco writing. So it's not the whole JMS thing, but some other kind of Spider-Man hunt going on. I'm drawing a blank on the situation there, but and that continues. We go to 436 of Amazing Spider-Man. His enemies are unmasked, so I think we're dealing with the Rose, and we're dealing with Black Tarantula here, and he is trying to find out who they both are. His latest editions of them. And as we approach the end of the first volume of Amazing Spider-Man, we've got number 437. We've got Sync from Generation X. Generation X was another sort of New Mutants style group that were being trained by the White Queen, and Sync is one of those characters, kind of like Rogue. He can copy the powers of other heroes and villains and other mutants. I think just mutants, actually. He is helping deal with this issue that Spider-Man is apparently in here in 437. And we go to the final issue of the first volume, called Classic Amazing Spider-Man, number 441. This final chapter as it's written, Norman Osborn is back, and he is trying to get some kind of mystical powers, and he is going to suck them out of Spider-Man somewhere along the line here. So then we go to the Amazing Spider-Man Annual. Now I start, most of my oldest stuff starts at 1976. It's just a flag I planted, and so I start with Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 10, and we've got the first. I think this is the first appearance of the Human Fly here. Yet another guy, much like the Scorpion, given powers by Jonah Jameson, paying for some scientist to do it, so that villain can go stop Spider-Man. You know, Jonah is a bigger menace than Spidey is. Then I skip to, I must have 11 and 12 in some other format, or they were just really expensive, so I intentionally purchased them in some other format. But we got number 13, an old classic Dr. Octopus story, Spider-Man versus Dr. Octopus in Amazing Spider-Man Annual 13. We got a little cluster of, we've got, again, 14, I must have somewhere else, in some other format. Let's see. So here in 15, we've got the Punisher appearing. We've got bonus feature, Spider-Man ranks the strength of the major Marvel heroes. I think I've seen that floating around on the internet, just people looking at the relative strengths of the various characters that were depicted in that. Then we jump to Amazing 19. This was a story, if I remember correctly, where a villain had decided that because Mary Jane Watson seemed to be around a lot when Spider-Man was around, that she must be Spider-Man, and so so he comes after her, trying to get her to confess to being Spider-Man. We've got Amazing Spider-Man Annual 20 with Iron Man of 2020. So this was, back in '86. So 2020 at the time was, far in the future. There had been a Machine Man 4-issue miniseries that was Machine Man, being a robot, being reactivated in 2020, and along the way, a son or grandson or whatever of Tony Stark's, Arno Stark, had become an Iron Man of that year, and he was had kind of an ugly suit like that. They would later reveal that Arno is just a young, because as we eventually reached 2020, they decided to somewhat try to take that series and make it not be something that is in the future, but make it something that actually happened in the present. And so they introduced Arno Stark as kind of a younger brother, or younger brother, either one or the other, to Tony Stark, and sort of kind of fuzzily made that series take place in the present. But so lots going on, lots of continuity stuff, lots of lore going on there in Amazing Spider-Man 20. Amazing Spider-Man 23. The Atlantis attacks. There's some high priest in Atlantis wants to bring back one of the elder Atlantean gods, and he needs to capture like so many brides, and so She-Hulk is going to be one of them. And in this, I think that high priest sends the Abomination to get her or something like that. So this was in all the annuals. This was a time period when they would have storylines that would run through all of the annuals, and there wasn't even like an end point, or there wasn't a starting issue and then all the annuals and an ending. Sometimes it was just only happening in the annuals themselves. Let's see, Next year was Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 24. Got Ant-Man showing up. We've got a Gil Kane cover here, and who was a famous writer on the Atom, or artist on the Atom. So it's kind of funny him doing a cover for where you have other shrunken heroes here at Marvel. And we had Spider-Man. This would have just run through the Spider-Man titles, presumably. Spider-Man getting shrunk and having to try to find out get himself unshrunk. And then we jump a few years to Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 27 in 1993. This one is this is the year that every annual introduced a new character, and in this case, it introduces Annex. Hang on a second, need my drink. It's just soda, guys. There was a trading card. I think I have all the trading cards. Most of them are like behind the board in the bag, with it in the bag. Annex, I believe, got a 4-issue series, and then I think we never saw him again. Then we go to Amazing Spider-Man number 28, another Carnage fight going on here. I don't know that I hear about this one a lot. Maybe to do, but it's not a highly valued one. Maybe this is the point at which, everybody's just kind of used to Carnage being a thing. It's not an early enough appearance for anybody to care. But and a Spidey Carnage battle in Amazing Spider-Man Annual 28. The order gets a little funny here because they really didn't put the numbers on for a while. They just put the years. But this was the year, 1998 was the year that also weren't 100% clear which annual went with what series. And I think I'm just kind of going with what CLZ or whatever makes sense. But this does say Amazing Spider-Man, so it's with the Amazing Spider-Man annuals. And every issue was two characters teaming up who don't always, necessarily team up. So this was Devil Dinosaur and Moon Boy, which for those who are familiar with Moon Girl, before it was Moon Girl, Devil Dinosaur's buddy was a kind of a primate, pre-caveman dude called Moon Boy, so they were both from the same time period, and were friends in that time frame, and had both been thrown into the future. Wonder what ever happened to Moon Boy. So then we go to Amazing Spider-Man Volume 2. We've got John Byrne coming on. He had done a lot of the art. He did a Spider-Man Chapter 1 series that we'll look at, where he tried to sort of redo Spider-Man's origins, and everybody utterly ignored it after the last issue. But he did come on here to do the artwork, and they were just revitalizing Amazing Spider-Man here. We've got Amazing Spider-Man number 4, featuring the Fantastic Four, featuring, looks like, the Frightful Four, with art by John Byrne, who did a lot of his earliest work on Fantastic Four. So if you're into the number 4, this is your issue. And we go to Amazing Spider-Woman, but no, not really. Amazing Spider-Man number 5. This is Mattie, I forget her last name. She was the, I believe, stepdaughter or niece of J. Jonah Jameson. Remember that end of Amazing when Norman Osborn was trying to get superpowers? Well, it's actually turned out this girl actually got the powers, and so she has become a new Spider-Woman. Jessica Drew was out of the picture at the time, and she's way too young, but she also has a crush on Spider-Man / Peter Parker. So she shows up every once in a while in these Spider-Verse things. We've got a cool looking cover here, just Spider-Man dealing with a fire situation. Beautiful John Byrne artwork on that cover. And Amazing Spider-Man number 9. We've got Amazing Spider-Man number 10. Spider-Man dealing with a Superman-esque, John Byrne also did some work on Superman, a Superman-esque superhero there, or villain. I don't remember exactly everything with that, but we've got the Doc Ock there in the back involved in this. And we jump to number 13. Why does the web spinner have to reach MJ before she's gone? Why doesn't he just call her on her cell phone? Because they didn't have cell phones. So that's so many plots from old TV shows and things and movies and comics could have been resolved if people just had cell phones like they do now. So pretty cool issue there. Some questions. And as mentioned, yes, this is Spider-Girl, Spider-Woman. She's not really old enough to be Spider-Woman, but she's calling herself Spider-Woman as girls want to do. And she's decided that she's got a big old crush on Spider-Man, and they should be together and get married and have babies and whatnot, little spider babies. Then we go to Amazing. They like to bury the numbers on these, so that would be 17 with Electro and a slightly less goofy costume that wouldn't last because, of course, people like the classics. We've got Mysterio there. We've got some pretty John Byrne. It's a pretty gorgeous John Byrne cover there. John Byrne, definitely in one of my top 5 art-wise. Go to Amazing number 18. Aha, we got, bringing back the Green Goblin here as a foe of Peter Parker, Spider-Man, ripping off the mask, making it hard to keep that secret identity a secret. And we have change. So we have Amazing going Spider-Man number 21. Eric Larson art, bringing back some more Spider Slayers. We stopped putting the face of the operator on. Well, they're all there, so some of them, that one probably does. They're just not showing it on the cover. Have the face of the operator on the screen there, so you know exactly who it is that's coming after you. But yeah, Eric Larson art on there. Next issue, I guess they were kind of rotating with cover artists here. So we've got John Romita Jr. We've got he's actually doing the interior art, and some Venom action going on there. Some Venom symbiote stuff going on. Looks like. And then number 25, double-sized issue. Just because it's 25, that's a nice round number. Not. And Spidey doing with some stuff. Got all of his peoples around him going in. This probably is another one of those origin retelling issues, history retelling issues, that kind of thing. So that is Amazing Spider-Man Volume 2, number 25. And then we go to number 26. We've got sort of a new, we got I believe is that the Squid. So that's not Dr. Octopus, not a mutated Dr. Octopus, but the Squid, if I remember correctly. New villain for Spider-Man to fight in that issue. And number 29, which is again, Howard Mackey's still writing, who's been writing all these up to this point, and some sad stuff happening with, I believe that's Mary Jane, and cool spider signal on her. Then we go to number 30. So things change with number 30. We've got J.M. Straczynski, I don't know if I'm saying that right, coming on to do the stories. We've got Campbell doing covers, some of his earlier work for Marvel, I believe, having come off of, gotten started with Danger Girl. So a lot of people love his cover work. He is drawing a man here, which is very unique for him. We're getting into a new phase. We've also seen the legacy numbering here on saying this is 471, because I believe when we get to 500, we're going to go ahead, it's going to jump to 500. So that's some pretty stuff. We've got Amazing Spider-Man number 31, Peter Parker becoming a high school teacher. So because he, even Spider-Man needs to have a job and make a buck. Web fluid doesn't grow on trees, so we've got him going in and becoming a teacher. And then we've got number 35, where Spider-Man has, gotten the crap beaten out of him. I think this is the point where he got beat up and he's just kind of like half in and out of the costume, and he's lying in bed, and Aunt May comes in and finds him and realizes that he's Spider-Man. I think that's what this is. But we've got some more J. Campbell artwork there, which leads us to number 36, which is not going to be a very exciting cover to look at. This is the 9/11 commemorative issue with the all-black cover. That was a time, the story that they put out, showing the reaction, showing it happening in the Marvel universe. It's a somewhat controversial issue. You've got some of the villains shedding a tear, and it's like, why are these villains shedding a tear about this when they themselves have tried to do much worse? So, but that's a well-wanted issue, and mine's okay. Mine's in pretty good shape. I've managed to avoid any fingerprints so far. Try not to touch it. Number 37 with a painted cover here. I don't know who the artist is on that, but he's pretty cool. He's doing the lenses as more of lenses and that kind of thing. But continuing that story, picking back up on the storyline from before the 9/11 issue. And that continues on to 42. We've got that, I believe that is, what's the guy's name? I'm drawing a blank. He's actually a classic artist. Mike Gold. No, that's not Mike Golden. I mean, that's Mike Golden is who I was trying to think of, but that is. I'm not gonna linger on it, but cool art, cool cover there. Amazing Spider-Man number 42. Let's see. Got Amazing Spider-Man 43. Spider-Man, nope, you can't swing through the air with an umbrella, so or a raincoat, so you get wet when it rains when you're Spider-Man. And we've got 44. We've got Spider-Man doing his thing, catching some hoods, some thugs, catching them in web like flies. How's that go? We've got Amazing Spider-Man number 47, with a cool cover here by Cho, and he's another one of those artists who's really well known for drawing women, but hey, he's drawing a dude here, so good looking cover. We've got Amazing Spider-Man 48, also by Frank Cho. and Frank Cho, known for, just like I say, a lot his covers. There's a lot of variant covers for series where women are the like Wonder Woman, Power Girl, things like that. Well desired, sketch artist from cons. I think this is some of his earliest big two work over here, doing covers for Amazing Spider-Man, such as this one for 48. So that's a beauty of just a poster cover. Poster cover. That's what we should call these. Jump back to Campbell and that time frame, and just a beauty shot of a certain redhead walking down the street. That's kind of it was an interesting idea, since it's just, it's still ostensibly Spider-Man's book, and he is there, but it's just all about everybody looking at Mary Jane walking down the street. Let's see, we've got kind of a big chunk here. We go to 52. Another one of those, oh, I'm Mary Jane, I have to stay home while Spider-Man goes out and does his thing. Not the one of those issues, of those covers that everybody talks about, but still sort of the same concept. And we go to number 500. So this is, as I mentioned, the point where they jump back to the legacy numbering. This is the number it would have been if they hadn't done that restart we just looked at earlier. Legacy numbering is pretty cool. I acknowledge that renumberings bring people in to read the books. It gives them a jumping on place, but it also makes it harder for people to figure out, if you want to go back and read, you need to go read Amazing Spider-Man number 16 or whatever. Well, which one? Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, Volume 4. So it's just there are pros and cons, but when they jump back to Legacy, then there's only one Amazing Spider-Man 500. So, and we've got all the villains and all the good stuff on there. And we go to number 501. I remember thinking at the time, kind of, 500 was such a big deal, and then in 501 we just kind of went back to just regular, stories. Nothing major in 501. But we got this guy checking out Spider-Man. Amazing 508. Now we're getting to Ezekiel. Remember earlier I said this was not the guy who's hunting down all the spiders. Ezekiel, that's the guy who's hunting down all the spiders. He's like or he's not the actual guy doing the hunting, but he is a previous spider totem. This is where we get into the spider totem stuff, where there's a magical aspect to Spider-Man's origins. Did he get his powers because the spider bit him, or did a spider bite him because he was destined to have the powers, kind of thing? And this is chapter 3 of that storyline. Some people are like, that's just. Some people don't like it. Oh, here we go. The Sins Past storyline. So, Spider-Man gets attacked by these two sort of young adult bad guys masked with spider powers, and we go on to find out that they are the children, not spider powers, just strong. And we find out that Gwen Stacy, Peter Parker's ex-girlfriend, felt really bad for Norman Osborn when Harry Osborn was thought to be dead, and they did it, and that produced children who grew fast because they had bits. They inherited some of the Green Goblin serum, effects from Norman, and hilarity ensued. So yeah, not a lot of controversy over this storyline, starting in Amazing Spider-Man 509. here in 512. That's, of course, I think the kids, and so still some controversy there. There's still some storyline going on there. And now we are, getting into how did this happen? As I mentioned, knowing that it tracks back to the Green Goblin, in Amazing Spider-Man 513. And then we're going to jump out of that, thankfully so, and into 516. This is kind of a one-shot, well, obviously not, it's part 2 of 4, but storyline with a character who is melting there. I don't remember why this character's melting. I can't remember if that's the Molten Man. But we got this guy who's melting, and apparently they didn't want us to see him melting any further on the cover because they just got a regular beauty shot poster cover for Amazing Spider-Man 517. We jump forward a few issues to Amazing Spider-Man 520. I like that cover. I like that logo. That's pretty nice. Some nice update to it. Another poster cover here. The downside to these covers is, of course, it provides me with absolutely no recollection of what the heck was going on in it. So all we can do is just sort of admire the cover. Isn't that pretty? Maybe if I remember who drew it, I can at least tell you something fun about who drew it. But I can't even tell. Oh, Mike Deodato. Another one of those draws pretty cool ladies. Deodato, artist, came in from overseas, had been doing a lot of work in Europe, I believe, or Spain, somewhere like that, and was brought in by Marvel. And let's see, we're getting to Amazing 521, another Deodato beauty cover there, Spider-Man. If you're just somebody that just wants some pretty, you like Spider-Man and you just want some cool images of him to hang, these are some great issues for that. This is an Amazing Spider-Man 528. The main thing I remember about this was it was somewhat of an effort. That they gave him the organic web shooters. He went through a bit of a transformation. Got the organic web shooters, although I think this is the end of it, and he is now losing and kind of getting back to his normal status quo here in 528. But he also had pincers that would come out of his forearms and things like that. But it was a storyline going through all of the Spider-Man books where he was, evolve or die, where his powers were evolving, but at the end, he, as so often happens, he got back to the normal status quo. Get to 529. So I somehow just screwed up when I was ordering these books back in the day and did not order 529. It happens. And so I ended up later getting a second printing, which is fine, of Amazing Spider-Man. Number 529. I don't think this is, there's not dramatic differences in the cover. I think that's just the second printing right there. But if you haven't seen the second printing, hey, here you go. And we've got Spider-Man and his spider armor that is being provided to him by Tony Stark. So this is where things sort of start to look a little bit like what they would later use in the movies, with Tony Stark being a kind of an advisor to Peter Parker. And we're getting into, of course, the Civil War period, where there's a push to have the heroes register, and Captain America insists that they need their freedom, and Iron Man insists that they should register. And this was, of course, a vague, idea that they then carried over into the movies and things like that. Let's see, we go to 530. We've got Peter Tingle. Spider-Man is still in his spider armor. Getting ready. We're just still on the road to Civil War. Like, we didn't even know what Civil War was going to be, but we're on the road to it. The miniseries hadn't started yet, so but some status quo changes are happening to get ready for it. So, Amazing Spider-Man 530, and then we're going to jump a bit to this 539. Spider-Man kind of upset about some stuff and reflecting that by going back to the black suit that the cloth version of what Venom had looked like, or the Venom suit had looked like when he was wearing that originally. And I think this might be after the death of Aunt May, I think is what he's upset about. And that continues here in 540. I believe that would be, Aunt May in the ambulance being rushed to the hospital after being shot because Peter revealed his secret identity as part of the Civil War storyline. This is why we need secret identities. Then we go to 544. What would you do if you only had one more day? One more day, part 1 of 4. So this is the other controversial storyline where Spider-Man makes a deal with Mephisto to save Aunt May, but what Mephisto wants in return is to do away with Spider-Man's marriage to Mary Jane, and this was just all a way for them to get them, dissolve the marriage. The Marvel editorial decided that they felt like Spider-Man would sell better and people would like it better if he was not married. It was kind of, I never had a problem with it, other than it seemed like, because apparently Peter and Mary Jane had still lived together and been dating and all that stuff. It didn't seem like that much to take away, on the part, from how does that get to something, what does Mephisto care? But, and they did wind up making some other continuity changes. So this is really, in terms of changes that stick, they're not necessarily just tied to carrying, the timeline forward and getting rid of topical references. This was actually one of the biggest retcons I think I've seen Marvel ever do, because we'll see a lot of other changes in this. We've got Amazing 545, continuing that as part 4 of the One More Day. So this is, of course, finishing up that thing, and we're seeing the Peter and Mary Jane being torn apart there. So the next issue, which we are not seeing because it's in the little packet, is we begin Brand New Day, and that is Spider-Man's new sort of status quo where he's single. He and Mary Jane dated but never married. There's a little bit of tweaking around some of his supporting characters. Flash Thompson this is when he has retroactively, he lost his legs in a war. At the time, I think it was Afghanistan, but of course then they'll start fuzzing on that because, as time goes by, it can't have been Afghanistan. But we really this is, I guess, when Dan Slott starts writing, and it was like a new real reboot of Amazing Spider-Man there, and it started a few issues earlier, but in 548 is a part of it. Also, this was when they just canceled the other 2 series, and Spectacular and I guess Adjectiveless, and we just started doing. They just had Amazing 3 times a month, so trying different things there with the publishing schedule. Got a beauty shot here by Salvador Larroca, I believe. With a story written by Guggenheim. You're going to see the writers rotate a lot on this because it is 3 times a month. So rather than having one book written by one writer and another book written by another writer and another book written by another writer, each one is kind of writing and things are getting drawn and going at the same, getting prepared at the same time, so that they always stay ahead and they have what they need for this 3 times a month book coming out. Let's see, we've got Amazing 552, Phil Jimenez doing the artwork. He did do a lot of Spider-Man, but he did some. We've mentioned him earlier. He's a great DC Wonder Woman artist. Was originally known as kind of a George Perez clone, which is not a bad thing in my book, but he did eventually evolve his own style, has done some X-Men, things like that. So he did some Spider-Man there. He's kind of got those long eyes. 553, Amazing Spider-Man, continuing that run, written by Bob Gale, famously the writer of Back to the Future. If you're looking for some facts out of me here. He also did a bit of comic book writing. And then we go to Amazing Spider-Man 560. This is one of Slott's issues, and a little bit of don't remember what the heck was going on there, but Spider-Man getting torn up while having some of that kind of in a museum or whatnot, with that artwork in it that rips off classic romance comics. Let me get my stack going here. They keep changing on me. You want to slide to fall forward. That particular storyline continues here in 561. I think everybody thought Spider-Man killed somebody. We've got people thinking, or we've got Jackpot, who is not Mary Jane Watson here, but we don't know that, and people are trying to say that she is. So quite a bit going on there. We've got this New Ways to Die storyline, which, looking at the next cover, helps me remember. So there was just some villain stuff going on here, some Spider-Man going up a variety of villains. There were again, I ended up with a variant cover on this one. Sometimes the people I bought comics from would just send me the variant cover instead of the regular one that I might have ordered, which is absolutely fine given that it was an Alex Ross cover. But we have Alex Ross's interpretation of the Green Goblin there, and how his suit would have worked. Pretty cool. Amazing Spider-Man 568. We go to this 569 special issue. I've got it out of the. It's got a red dot, so it must be something major going on, and it's got I believe this is the first appearance of Anti-Venom. I believe Flash Thompson there's the another spawn of Venom, and it's like kind of he wields it like as a good guy and that kind of thing. I think this is Gargan, Matt Gargan, the Scorpion in the Venom suit. So lots going on, which makes sense because that Norman Osborn was managing the Thunderbolts, and for a while there, that's who was, and the Dark Avengers, and so we've got Songbird there. So lots going on right there in 569. We've got 570 with a Spider-Man getting the heck beaten out of him. Kind of a taking a realistic look at the lenses here. That always bugged me because I'm like, oh my god, that's going to go in his eye. That plastic seems like a terrible idea if you're gonna establish that it's actually hard plastic, because that could cause an eye injury. That's not good. Who wants that? And we've got 571 with another variant edition. I believe this is the Anti-Venom character right there, drawn by J.R. Jr. And 571. We've got 572 with a beauty shot of Bullseye on this variant edition. Right there, he's part of all this storyline. And then we kind of jump. We got a Joe Kelly who is actually drawing or actually writing Spider-Man now, so he has come back a second time. We've got art by Chris Bacalo, who was I remember him mainly from, he did a lot of X-Men, and he did a Doctor Strange thing in the 90s. He did the Generation X that we referenced earlier with Sync. And here Spider-Man is giving Hammerhead a sock in the face. And we've got 577. We got this reference to the Ultimatum storyline from the Ultimate books that was kind of wiping that slate clean and killing off a lot of characters and things like that. I believe this was part of like a three-way crossover with a couple of other books, Punisher and Daredevil, although I might be mistaken on that. Amazing Spider-Man 584, Resolutions that changes everything. So we got Guggenheim revealing some stuff about some of these characters that had been bouncing in and out. We had Harry and his girlfriend, the model, and what are we going to find out about them? And that continues in Amazing 585, continuing the character assassination story. Spidey getting beat by this. What was that name? Something. There's another goblin. You know, one of the goblins in that series. And then we've got Amazing 592. Amazing how fast we've gotten from 500 to we're getting up to 600 because we were doing 3 times a year. But Joe Quesada, former head honcho at Marvel, doing some covers. This one written by Mark Waid, one of my favorite writers. Couldn't tell you what happens in this one again because it's just a pretty cover. But if you're a big fan of Hit Bones, there you go. Let's see. We go to 593. Another Quesada cover. I probably would have pronounced it wrong, but there is a character in the first Ben Affleck Daredevil movie. I guess there's only one Ben Affleck Daredevil movie. That is Mr. Quesada, and so that now I know how you pronounce Quesada. But this is a little beauty shot. Spider-Man outside the coffee bean where he gets his coffee. Established 1962, which is of course when Amazing started. And then we've got Dark Reign when Norman Osborn has sort of taken over, the major, it's become a big deal in the government, and this American Sun crossover with covers by Phil Jimenez and written by Joe Kelly. Spider-Man going up against, I believe this might be the Flash Thompson Venom. Not sure. No, maybe not. But American Sun, I know Harry gets suited up in some way during this. Let's see, go to Amazing 597 again. We got Norman starting to form his Dark Avengers. I don't think the series, I can't remember if the series had started yet, but that Dark Avengers team going up against Spider-Man there, because in Dark Avengers The Spider-Man equivalent isn't like Venom, so I don't remember what's going on with that. But great art by Phil Jimenez there, as always. Then we've got your Amazing Spider-Man 600 with JR Jr. doing a cover there. Don't remember the shtick of Amazing Spider-Man 600, but it's a beauty cover, another wraparound. Pretty good, pretty cool. Then we get to go back to the top loader box to get 601. This is, of course, the classic cover that is very well known. I know there was a bit of controversy there where some female artist kind of tweaked it and tried to make it a little less what she felt like was kind of sexist and depicting the female form in an unrealistic way. And a lot of people like the original as well. Then we go to 602, which is not a major classic cover, but it is a Mary Jane cover. She has a scooter. Don't know what the heck goes on in here, but who cares? It's Mary Jane on a scooter. And we jump to 605. Another interesting cover. This guy, clearly had picked out some models and things and was deciding who everybody was going to be. And it's not like we don't know that, like, that's Peter and that's Mary Jane, but it was interesting that he's kind of giving more realistic faces here. And I don't even know, I don't have the name of the artist at hand, but kind of an interesting. I've always been a big fan, actually, of photo reference, maybe not at the level of Greg Land, but artists all having a real person that they are basing their artwork off of. I've always thought that would be an interesting experiment to do more of. That was 605. We've got a couple more high-end covers by Campbell. 608 with a little love triangle going on there. And then we've got 607, another classic. So we've got Spider-Man, basically renewing his relationship in all these with the Black Cat. I don't have a problem with it. It's kind of like there's that, that marry and F and kill sort of thing that people talk about. And, Mary Jane can be a Mary and Black Cat can be an F, that kind of thing. Let's, let Peter get some action every once in a while. 608 is Amazing Spider-Man 608. Hey, remember Iron Man Armored Adventures with Teen Tony and Armor? Anyway, got that going on. I always remember, like, I'm supposed to know who that villain is, but he, it's like, it's a very realistic drawing and you can't really tell who he is, but we go to, place that tape, 10 of Amazing Spider-Man dealing with some dude with glowing hands. Looks like Starbrand. It's not Starbrand, but it looks like Starbrand. Let's see. We've got your obligatory Deadpool team up with Spider-Man in 611 with Joe Kelly, who was a big time Deadpool writer at the time, or had been, and so got Spidey all gussied up like a good pouchy 90s hero ought to be. And then the tone sort of shifts completely and we go to the Gauntlet, where similar, I believe, to the Sinister Six, we've got all the villains teaming up to say, okay, we're really going to take Spider-Man out this time. We're not kidding around. This is a variant issue of that. So you might not have seen that one. We go to 616. Polito doing art, Van Lent doing the writing. We've got, as part of that, you know, they're not teaming up on him all at once. I think they're kind of wearing him down by attacking one right after the other. So we've got the Sandman, who had become a good guy for a while there, but that doesn't always last. So we've got him coming on at 6:16, and Spider-Man having to fight him, as he does. And we've got Amazing 6:17 with the Rhino as part of that ongoing fight. Which you know, essentially the writer is changing, so it's even just sort of at the editorial level is the gauntlet, but the writing of each individual issue apparently is subject to change. Then we go to 6:20. Dan Slott coming back. I think it's Marcos Martin. Spider-Man fighting Mysterio, as he frequently does. And we've got Amazing number 621. Again, part of the gauntlet. This time it's Mr. Negative, with Black Cat coming along to help out. Slott and Lark. Was it Mike Lark? I forget Lark's first name. But kind of a cool structural thing on that. And we go to 624. We're still in the gauntlet. This time the Vulture, and we got Mark Waid writing. So they're still coming after Spidey. He's not looking too good there. We've got in 625, as we finish up this box, we've got some more gauntlet. We've got, apparently there were two rhinos, and you know, they're not getting along. Hey, I'm the Rhino. No, I'm the Rhino. That kind of thing. And that ends with, we're out of the gauntlet. Classic Spider-Man writer Roger Stern, art by Lee Weeks, and Peter Parker has lost his job, and he is dealing with somebody with the Unipower, and who has become Captain Universe. The Captain Universe power was kind of this disembodied power that would jump into people and that give them extremely high superpowers for a brief time until they dealt with whatever they needed to personally deal with. And unfortunately, looks like my copy got a little fingerprinty, but that is the last issue of this box here as Amazing Spider-Man 628. All right, that's it. Next time we will look at the next box, which has the rest of Amazing Spider-Man Volume 2, some 3, all of 3, all of 4, and some of 5, I believe. So thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. Please give me any comments, any feedback, subscribe. Let me know how I'm doing. Thanks very much. Have a good one.